Another frequently asked question: weapon lights. I can go into long gun lights another day, a whole nother video. But as far as handguns, there's several that I can recommend. It'll be up to everyone to do their own research, only because there's plenty of reviews out there on all these lights that are much better than I have the capacity for. Mr. Guns and Gear, they them and a few other channels, they'll take them out and torture test them and throw them around and fire several mags for recoil test, bury them, and shine them across 300 yard fields, things like that. There's plenty of reviews out there already, but many people have no idea what to look for. So there are several I'm going to recommend, and then I would say look it up on Mr. Guns and Gear's channel, or anywhere else, those review YouTube channels, to actually do some research on it and read about it on the website. I have three of the five that I recommend. I haven't been able to buy the other two yet. I'll get around to it. Three of the four, two of the four that I recommend. This technically isn't one of them, but this is the one I'm carrying on duty for the moment. This is the Blackhawk NTX. The Blackhawk NTX is made specifically for their holster. So if you're carrying a Blackhawk level 2 or level 3 non-light bearing holster and don't want to have to retrain yourself to a new, entirely new holster, you just like that style, they make their own flashlight to fit their light bearing holster. So it's basically the same thing. It is offset because it has to be in order for it to engage with their holster. Now, of course, this is the NTX. The original NT was like 75 lumens. It was pretty dim. The NTX, I want to say, is 150 lumens. I could be wrong. I believe that's what it is, which honestly is a lot brighter than I realized it was. It's worked for me just fine, clearing buildings all night in pitch black, no power. It is quick disconnect. It does have a plastic mount, which I wasn't too crazy about, but I've been using the same one for years. I've dropped it a couple times accidentally. I've fought people with this on and hit the ground. It's never broken. What I don't necessarily like is the interface. It is ambidextrous symmetrically, which I much prefer symmetrical ambidextrous controls. But what it is it is hold for hold for momentary, double click for constant, and triple click for strobe, which is just a bit much. If your low light style is momentary, which a lot of people do, like to do momentary to different places. If you do momentary too close together, it goes constant accidentally. If you want to strobe for whatever tactical reason, you have to triple click to get all the way to the strobe. So I mean, it's just a bit much, but it is a cheap light. And if you don't want to switch holster styles, if you're coming from the Blackhawk Serpa, then that's a route to go. I don't have one here, but the Streamlight TLR1 is an amazing light. I know plenty of people that carry them, and everyone loves them. I know a couple people that have taken some hard impacts and managed to break the bezel, and the light still works just fine. What I don't like about it is that the interface is ambidextrous, but it's not symmetrical. So it's a lever on both sides, or it's a rocker, where when you flick it, it rocks both directions, and you have to flick it one way and it'll stay there to be constant, and if you flick it the other way and hold it, it's momentary and it snaps back on its own, which is cool. But that means that whether you have it in your right hand or your left hand, you just have to remember whether you have to flick it up on this side and down on that side, or down on this side and up on that side, depending on what hand it's in and whether you want to go momentary or constant. But that just comes in training with the light. Personally, I just prefer things to be symmetrically ambidextrous, so it's exactly the same on both sides. But it's an amazing light and definitely worth the money. and I want to say they're 100 and some change, so they're not even that expensive. The Surefire X300, another great light. I've seen them take some extreme abuse. Surefire is, you know, like industry standard in the military, and the controls are symmetrically ambidextrous. The Surefire X300 I handle, you rock it and it goes constant, or you push it forward and it's momentary. So I like them personally. Streamlights. Streamlight also makes the TLR 6 version for the subcompacts like the Glock 26, Glock 27, and then their new TLR 7 through TLR 9 seem to have symmetrical controls, and they seem to be a little more ergonomic, better technology, a little brighter. But I've never handled one personally. Definitely something to look into. I plan on getting one eventually. Olight, I have the Olight PL Pro Valkyrie. I'm not too familiar with Olight, so I'm actually very amazed by what I picked up. I picked it up for $90. I want to say the regular tag is maybe 130, but it's symmetrically ambidextrous controls, and it is quick disconnect. And press once for constant, and press both at the same time for strobe. So you have quick access to both depending on what you want to do. And then it has the standard 600 brightness. If you double click, it goes to 1500. You know, good for seeing distance, seeing through dark windows, you know, window tint, things like that. And it goes to the last brightness setting. So if I turn it off, it comes back on to 1500. If I double click it into 600, when I turn it off, it comes back on to 600. This one is also rechargeable. You have to use a light a lot. If you're like me, where you're clearing dark buildings almost every night, especially if they don't have power, you know, you tend to keep extra batteries around just in case. The Olight has a magnetic charger. You just slap the magnet cable on and, you know, take it back off when you're ready to use it. So great light to look into. Last but not least, the Viridian light, which I'm very impressed with. The Viridian X5L with cam is much more recent on the block, and it actually has a 500 lumen flashlight, a green dot laser, and a 1080p camera with audio. The camera is great for supplementing body cam footage, because wherever your weapon's pointing at, the camera's going to be pointing at. And the frequent issue we see today, and there's plenty of training scenarios on Viridian's website where they show it, if you're in a stack and you're not the first person to stack, your body cam's blocked. If you're in a ready position with your weapon, your body cam tends to be blocked. Even aimed out shooting, sometimes your body cam's blocked. Shooting at odd angles, you fall on the ground or have to go prone, you know, shooting around corners, getting ambushed in a car, your body cam's blocked. So your body cam might catch the audio of you being shot at, might catch the audio of everything, but your weapon is actually going to catch whatever you're pointing it at. This also has symmetrical ambidextrous controls. It's got a battery light indicator as well as a SD card indicator. There's another light that'll cut on once it's running low on the SD. With the symmetrical controls, you press both at the same time, and you can't see the strobe, but I've got it set to flat to steady light with strobing laser. Now it's steady laser only. Now it's strobing light with steady laser. Strobing laser only. And back to where I normally keep it. Steady light, flashing laser. The other great thing about this particular flashlight, the Viridian, is that they have a instant on technology where you can buy an instant on holster, or you can buy the add-on, which I have. It was like $15, and essentially it's a magnet that you just retrofit onto whatever your holster is. So when you draw this, it'll turn on automatically to whatever your last setting was, the which includes the camera. You can set it so that it's automatic camera. They actually make this model flashlight only. They make it flashlight laser, and they make it flashlight laser camera like I have. So the X5L comes in multiple settings, multiple forms. If you don't want to spend all the money, or because that one I want to say is $600 for the average person. I want to say I spent in the neighborhood of like $450 on a LE discount. And the regular model, the regular like flashlight only, is like $300 or something like that, 200 and some change. I don't remember, but the flashlight only version is a lot cheaper. But they're all compatible with the instant on technology. As soon as if you turn it on before you holster it, as soon as you draw it from the holster, it cuts on automatically to the last setting. So there's no having to cut your body cam on automatically. There's no having to turn if you under fire in the dark. There's no having to remember to turn your or taking the extra second to turn your flashlight on. As soon as I draw, the light's on, the laser's on, the camera's on, if that's what I want it to do. If I turn it off before I holster it, it'll come back on, or it'll come back out the holster with it turned off, and I have to manually cut it on. So it's a cool feature to have, that instant on technology, and it only runs when you want it to. So do the research on those. But the Streamlights, the TLR1, TLR6, and TLR7 through 9, the different size weapon, good to get to the end of the barrel or right under the barrel so you have no barrel shadow. If the light is all the way back here, you get that 12 o'clock barrel shadow. It makes it dark downrange. You don't want that. So you look at those, TLR1, TLR6 through 9, Surefire X300 and X400, the Olight PL Pro Valkyrie, and the Viridian X5L. Those are the ones I recommend. Final note, always make sure you can find a holster for it. When you look up a light, make sure you find a holster that you like, that fits your style, that fits what you want, that is good for if you're carrying it on duty. You want a lockable retention holster that fits it. And if you're carrying it off duty, you want a conceal holster that fits it. I actually had to buy a custom holster for one of my lights because I just couldn't find one for off-duty carry. That's why I like this one. And before I bought the other lights, I had to QD this light off because Black Hawk doesn't make a pancake conceal holster or whatever for this light. I just had to keep taking it off. And as a bonus, the dead point light. The dead point light is part of the guide rod. Now, I don't recommend this because I'm sure it was discontinued for a reason. I picked it up for $80 and on sale at PSA, and took it to the range. I put 200 rounds through this weapon. Had one malfunction, which I've never had a malfunction out of this weapon except when I had bad ammunition from Walmart one time. So with this guide rod flashlight, I had one malfunction out of 200 rounds, which is great, but I want to test this a lot more before I trust that light on duty. I'd figure either I would use it as a backup light should my regular underbarrel light die or get damaged. It'd be good to have a backup light, especially since it was so cheap. Or if it can conceal carry without me needing to buy new holsters or fit flashlights, this will just fit any regular Glock 19 holster. But I will definitely do a lot more testing before I trust my light to that particular flashlight. That's all for now.